Most gardeners are completely wasting June. And I do not mean that harshly. I mean it in the most genuinely helpful way possible, because I did the exact same thing for years. Waiting too long, choosing the wrong crops, skipping the ones that actually love summer heat, and then standing in the garden in August, wondering why everything looked so disappointing. Here is the truth that seed catalogs and gardening magazines rarely say out loud. June is secretly one of the most powerful planting windows of the entire growing year. Not spring, not fall, June. If you know exactly what to put in the ground right now. Today here at Casa Verde Diaries, we are covering 16 crops that belong in your June garden. Some of them are going to surprise you. A couple of them you have probably been avoiding for absolutely no good reason at all. And I need you to stay with me until number 12, because that one is the crop most gardeners completely overlook, and it might honestly be the easiest food you will ever grow in your life. Before we get into it, drop a comment right now and tell me where you are gardening from. Because June looks different in Georgia than it does in Oregon, and I genuinely want to know what your summer looks like. I read every single comment. Let us get into it. Number 1 is bush beans. If you only plant one thing in June, make it bush beans. They germinate fast in warm soil, they need no support or staking whatsoever, and from seed to harvest, you are looking at about 50 to 60 days. That means you can realistically be picking beans by late July or early August from a seed you put in the ground this week. What makes them exceptional for beginner and experienced gardeners alike is how forgiving they are once they sprout. Bush beans form compact plants that shade out weeds naturally and do not demand your constant attention. The key is consistent moisture, especially during flowering, because that is when the pods are forming. Let them dry out too much and you will get fewer beans. Keep the soil evenly watered and they will keep producing in waves. And here is the move most gardeners do not think of. Do a second sowing later in the month. Stagger your harvest so you are not overwhelmed with beans all at once, but instead picking fresh pods for weeks on end. That single strategy alone transforms bush beans from a good crop into a great one. Number 2 is cucumbers. Cucumbers are pure summer crops. They want heat, they want warm soil, and they want full sun, and June gives them all three simultaneously. The mistake most people make is planting cucumbers too early in cold spring soil and then wondering why nothing is happening. Plant them now and they will reward you fast. Most varieties go from seed to harvest in about 55 to 65 days. Train them up a trellis or a simple wire fence to save garden space and improve airflow. You will be pulling cucumbers off the vine faster than you can eat them. And that is honestly a wonderful problem to have. Number 3 is summer squash. Zucchini, yellow squash and pattypan all fall under summer squash and they are June planting goldmines. They grow so fast it can genuinely feel unfair. One week you are looking at a tiny seedling that has barely decided to live, and before you know it, you have a full bush spreading across the bed with enormous leaves catching the sun like solar panels. The most important thing to know about summer squash is this. Direct-sow them straight into your garden bed. Do not start them indoors and transplant. These plants genuinely dislike root disturbance. Once they get transplant shock, they tend to sulk for days before recovering, if they recover at all. Drop the seeds directly into warm soil. Give each plant plenty of space. Keep the soil consistently moist while they establish, and then step back and let them do what they do best. Number 4 is sweet corn. Here is a controversial one. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. A lot of gardeners believe corn is only for early spring planting. That is simply not the full picture. If you are in a region with a long enough growing season, June corn planting works beautifully. The warm soil speeds up germination significantly compared to cold spring planting, which means your plants get off to a genuinely stronger start. Plant in blocks rather than single rows. Corn is wind-pollinated, so the closer the plants are to each other, the better your ear development will be. Give it full sun, and do not let it dry out during tasseling. That is when moisture matters most and when everything either comes together or falls apart. Number 5 is okra. This one surprises people every single time, and it genuinely should not. Okra is one of the best June crops you can grow, especially in warmer climates. Okra planted in cool spring soil just sits there barely growing, making you think something is wrong with the seed, when it is really just the timing. But once June heat kicks in and the soil stays consistently warm, everything changes. The plant wakes up fast, sending up strong stems, broad, beautiful leaves, and then those hibiscus-like flowers that quickly turn into pods. What makes okra especially rewarding beyond its heat love is how long it keeps producing. As long as you keep harvesting, it keeps producing right through the hottest months and well into the season until first frost. If you have tried okra before and felt disappointed, I promise you it was almost certainly not the plant. It was just the timing. June gives it the conditions it actually needs. Number 6 is southern peas. Here is one that does not get nearly enough attention outside the southern United States, but absolutely deserves a much wider audience. Southern peas, also called cowpeas or black-eyed peas, are incredibly heat-tolerant, genuinely drought-resistant, and they fix nitrogen back into the soil while they grow. They are feeding your garden at the same time they are feeding you. They thrive in poor soils where other crops would give up entirely. Plant them in June, largely leave them alone, and come back for a harvest that is both nutritious and completely underrated. Number 7 is sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes need a long, warm growing season, usually around 90 to 120 days, and that is exactly why June is one of the best times to get them in the ground. You are not planting seeds here. You are planting slips, which are small rooted cuttings from a mature sweet potato. Once they are in warm soil, they spread, they vine, and they quietly build those beautiful tubers underground all summer long. By the time fall arrives, you will pull up more food than you expected. And sweet potatoes store remarkably well, which means the value from this one June planting carries you for months. Number 8 is edamame. Yes, edamame. The soybeans you get at Japanese restaurants. And yes, you can absolutely grow them at home for almost nothing. They love warm soil. They grow fast, and from planting to harvest is roughly 75 to 90 days, depending on variety. Harvest them while the pods are still green and plump. Boil them in salted water, and you have a snack that feels genuinely fancy, but cost you practically nothing to produce. This crop is one of the most underutilized plants in home gardens, and it simply should not be. Right here at the halfway point, if you are finding real value in what we are covering today, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. We put out new gardening content every single week here at Casa Verde Diaries, and I would genuinely hate for you to miss what is coming next. Now let us keep going because the second half of this list is where things get really interesting. Number 9 is Malabar spinach. Regular spinach hates summer. It bolts the second temperatures climb, turns bitter, and gives up entirely. But Malabar spinach is a completely different plant with a completely different personality. It is actually a tropical vine, and it thrives in hot, humid conditions that would destroy traditional spinach. The leaves are thick, glossy, and slightly succulent, and they taste wonderful in stir-fries, soups, and fresh salads. Grow it up a trellis, and it becomes almost decorative as well as productive. If you love leafy greens but thought summer meant going without them, Malabar spinach is your direct answer. Number 10 is Armenian cucumber. Here is where things get genuinely unexpected. Armenian cucumber looks exactly like a cucumber, tastes like a cucumber, but technically it is a muskmelon. And the reason it earns a spot on this list is that it handles intense summer heat far better than any standard cucumber variety. The skin is thin, the flesh is mild and crisp, and the plants are incredibly productive. Once the brutal heat of July and August arrives and your regular cucumbers start to struggle and slow down, Armenian cucumber keeps right on going. It is a sleeper crop that far more gardeners need to know about. Number 11 is yard-long beans, also called asparagus beans or Chinese long beans. These are pole beans that produce pods reaching up to 1.5 feet long. They are ridiculously heat-tolerant. They grow up rather than out, so they save valuable garden space, and they produce abundantly once they get going. They take a little longer than bush beans at around 70 to 80 days, but the visual drama of those long dangling pods alone makes them worth growing. They taste similar to green beans but with a slightly nuttier, firmer texture. Stir-fry them, steam them, or eat them fresh. Number 12, the one I promised you at the beginning, Luffa. And yes, I mean Luffa as in the sponge you use in the shower. Most people have absolutely no idea that Luffa is a vegetable in the gourd family. When harvested young, it is completely edible, tasting mild and soft, similar to zucchini. Let it mature fully on the vine, peel back the dried skin, shake out the seeds, and you have a completely natural homegrown Luffa sponge that costs you nothing. It needs a long season of around 90 to 120 days, which is precisely why you need to plant it in June and not wait any longer. This one is genuinely a conversation starter in any garden. Every visitor who sees it will ask what it is, And the answer is always more surprising than they expect. Did that one surprise you? Drop a comment right now and tell me if you have ever grown Luffa before. Number 13 is sunflowers. Before you say that is not a food crop, please hear me out completely. Sunflowers give you edible seeds. They attract pollinators that help every other plant in your garden produce better. And they act as a natural trellis for climbing crops like beans. They are genuinely one of the most multifunctional plants you can put in the ground. June planting gives them all the warm weather they need to grow tall and strong. Go for a multi-branching variety if you want more flowers and more seeds per plant. And if you do nothing else with them, simply having sunflowers in your garden makes the whole space feel alive in a way that nothing else quite matches. Number 14 is basil. Basil and summer were quite simply made for each other. Cold weather stunts it, cool nights turn the leaves black, and early spring planting often leads to nothing but frustration. But June? Basil absolutely explodes in June, growing fast, lush, and almost aggressively green when the heat settles in. Plant it near your tomatoes. They genuinely seem to do better together, and the basil helps repel certain pests naturally. Pinch the flower heads off as soon as they appear to keep the plant producing fresh, tender leaves, instead of shifting its energy into seed production. One healthy basil plant can supply your entire kitchen all summer long for the price of a single seed packet. The more you harvest, the more it grows back. Number 15 is cantaloupe. Cantaloupes truly come into their own when the weather is consistently warm, which is why June planting sets them up so beautifully for that rich honeyed sweetness by late summer. They love heat, and the more sun they get, the more sugars they build in the fruit. In cooler conditions they will grow, but the flavor simply will not reach that deep, almost floral sweetness that makes homegrown melon a completely different experience from anything bought at a store. Give them plenty of room if you are letting them run along the ground. If space is limited, vertical growing works beautifully. Just make sure your trellis is strong enough to handle the weight as the fruits mature. Support forming melons with soft fabric slings so they do not snap off the vine. You will know a cantaloupe is ready when the skin shifts to golden tan, the stem begins to loosen, and the fruit comes away with an almost effortless tug. And number 16 is moringa. Here is the wild card. And I want to hear your reaction to this one in the comments because most Western gardeners have never even considered it. Moringa, sometimes called the drumstick tree or the miracle tree, is one of the most nutritionally dense plants on the planet. The leaves are packed with vitamins and minerals, the young seed pods are edible, and the plant itself grows at an almost unbelievable pace in warm conditions. In the right environment, it does not just grow. It takes off, pushing out fresh tender leaves that can be harvested repeatedly without harming the plant. Those leaves can be used fresh in soups and stews, dried and ground into powder for long-term storage, or blended into smoothies as a simple nutrient boost. In tropical and subtropical regions around the world, it has been a dietary staple for generations. Here in Western gardening content, it is almost never talked about, and that is a significant oversight. If you are in a warmer growing zone, plant it in June and watch it grow faster than almost anything else in your garden. You can harvest leaves within weeks and use them immediately. It is one of those plants that makes you wonder why it took you so long to try it. And there you have it. 16 crops that June was practically built for. From the reliable workhorses like bush beans and cucumbers to the genuinely surprising and underused stars like Luffa, Moringa, yard-long beans and Armenian cucumber, your June garden has more potential than most people ever take full advantage of. The gardeners who consistently get great results are not always the ones with the most land or the biggest budget. They are the ones who understand timing, who stay curious, and who are willing to plant something they have never tried before. So get out there. Get those seeds and slips into the ground right now while June is still open and the soil is warm and ready. Tell me in the comments which crop from this list you are planting first. And tell me which one surprised you the most. I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing from every person in our Casa Verde community. If this video helped you today, please give it a like and share it with a fellow gardener who needs to hear this. And if you have not yet joined our Casa Verde Diaries family, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. Because next week we go just as deep, and the week after that, this is your garden. June is wide open right now. Go plant something.